Shiver my timbers, shiver my soul, yo-ho-heave-ho. There are men whose hearts are as black as coal, yo-ho-heave-ho. And they sailed their ship across the ocean blue, a bloodthirsty captain and a cutthroat crew. It's as dark a tale as was ever told of the lust for treasure and the love of gold. Shiver my timbers, shiver my sides, yo-ho-heave-ho. There are hungers as strong as the wind and tides, yo-ho-heave-ho. And those buccaneers drown their sins in rum. The devil himself would have to call them scum. Every man aboard would have killed his mate for a bag of guineas or a piece of eight. Piece of eight, a piece of eight. 5, 6, 7, 8. Shiver my timbers, shiver my bones, yo-ho-heave-ho. There are secrets as secret holds Davy Jones, yo-ho-heave-ho. When the mainsail's set and the anchor's weighed, there's no turning back from any course that's laid. And when greed and villainy sail the sea, you can bet your boots there'll be treachery. Shiver my timbers, shiver my sails, dead men tell no tales. That, of course, me hearties, was the song from Muppet Treasure Island, being actually one of the better pirate songs of which I know. This past Sunday was International Talk Like a Pirate Day, and I just can't do it today. I'm really sorry about that. Arr! As my West Country accent keeps on straying into somewhere in the middle of the Irish Sea, and so I will talk in my normal Canadian voice, so as not to pain your ears anymore. And I decided, though, in honor of International Talk Like a Pirate Day, that I would, in fact, do today's video on the topic of pirates in church history. There's actually not a lot to say. At least not for the sort of things that I really know. There are lots of reasons for this, and I would like to start off with pointing out a few of them. One is, pirates are a major part of nautical history for almost as long as we have nautical history, although it's, the farther back you go, the harder it is to tell a pirate apart from, you know, whatever, local marauder or whatever. Some people like to imagine that the Greeks at Troy are pirates, or are they an organized international coalition force to take down a tyrannical empire? I don't know. Who are they? What are they? Right? These are things that we're not entirely sure. Because a pirate is, in fact, a person who commits theft at sea, or perhaps upon water. I suppose one could be a pirate on Lake Superior if one wished. I live in Thunder Bay. We have lots of water, but no pirates. Or one could even be a pirate on the Saskatchewan River, as many of you know. I used to be a farmer and I made a living fine. I owned a little stretch of land along the CP line, but times got hard and though I tried, the money wasn't there. But bankers came and took my land and told me fair is fair. I looked for every kind of job, the answer always no. Hire me now, they'd always laugh, we just let 20 go. The government, they promised me a measly little sum, but I've got too much pride to end up just another bum. Then I thought, who gives a damn if all the jobs are gone? I'm gonna be a pirate on the river Saskatchewan. And it's a heave-ho, hi-ho, coming down the plains, stealing wheat and barley and all the other grains. And it's a ho, hey, hi, hey, farmers bar your doors when you see the Jolly Roger on Regina's mighty shores. Arr! As someone who grew up on the banks of the North Saskatchewan River, that one has a special place in my heart. And what about ecclesiastical history? Now, it would seem those people who can do early modern stuff better than I can have done research on pirates and religion in the history of, for example, New England and the New World, because pirates, sort of the Golden Age of Piracy involves that, right? The Golden Age of Piracy is sort of from the late 1500s with people like Sir Francis Drake, technically a privateer, but he does pirate things with a license from the Queen against her enemies, through to sort of the death of Captain Kidd in the 1640s, maybe pushing on to early 1700s if you wish. So these people probably do actually have a few things to say about ecclesiastical history and what is their own, what kind of religion, what kind of faith did the pirates of the Golden Age of Piracy have? Sir Francis Drake. Was he a devout member of the Church of England? You know, did he have his Book of Common Prayer on board the ship with him when he went to go and raid those Spanish Catholics? And, well, that's the question, isn't it? So, of course, the easiest role to find if you don't have the perhaps resources at hand is for pirates. The easiest role for them to find is people who make trouble for saints in the worldly realm. The most famous example who sprang to my mind immediately in this regard was Saint Patrick of Ireland, given that he was captured by Irish pirates and sold into slavery. This actually happens to a lot of people. Pirates will capture you and sell you into slavery for a very long time, and you try to make your way home. That's your goal in life after that, is to escape. What is interesting, of course, about the story of St. Patrick is that although Irish pirates capture him, sell him into slavery in Ireland, he finds himself drawn to return to Ireland later on and to bring the light of Christ and the gospel to the Irish heathen. So that's actually pretty cool that the Lord will use pirates for the furthering of his own mission of salvation and bringing people into the kingdom of the heavens. This, of course, this Patrick story in its own way is a repeat of the Joseph story, except that it was Joseph's brothers and not pirates who sold him into slavery. Kind of worse, really, than just a bunch of random dudes in a boat who pull their ship up onto shore, grab you, and run off. And I have no doubt there were lots and lots of pirates sailing around the sort of region of Ireland, Britain, and all of the islands around there, like the Isle of Man and Hebrides and whatnot. Because why not? Today, for example, Indonesia, which is itself a group of about 177,000 islands, is the world #1 hotspot for piracy. Because it's the easiest way to steal stuff from people. So in places and ages when the sea is not a barrier but a road, piracy is going to flourish. Hence the Golden Age of Pirates, ongoing piracy in Indonesia, and piracy in the British Isles and Vikings as well, of course. Another medieval, well, St. Patrick, 5th century, it's not medieval, but anyway, a medieval saint who also had a brush with pirates is St. Simeon of Syracuse, who I actually learned about specifically for this video. I found an article about him on CatholicExchange.com. St. Simeon of Syracuse, a saint for piratey things. And there you read that St. Simeon was born in the year 970 in Syracuse, of course. That's why he's St. Simeon of Syracuse. His mother was a Calabrian, southern Italy, and his father was a Greek military officer. And he went to Constantinople for his education. Eventually, Simeon decided upon a life in religion, so he was ordained a deacon in the Holy Land, and then he entered the ancient monastery of St. Catherine's on Mount Sinai. That's pretty cool. That's where the famous icon of Christ, Pantocrator, painted on wood, comes from. They also have a really good mosaic of the Transfiguration there. And it's also loads of manuscripts emerge from St. Catherine's. It's a monastery dating back. The current foundation dates back to the time of Justinian, no doubt, but we know about monks living there in the time of Egeria in the 380s. Anyway, so it's a big, and it is today, St. Catherine's on Sinai is in fact still a major center for Eastern Orthodox monasticism, so sort of St. Catherine's and Mount Athos, in my mind, are the two big ancient centers for Eastern Greek Orthodox monks. Anyway, in 1027, Simeon, monk at St. Catherine's, was charged by his abbot to travel to France, that's way across the Mediterranean on the north side, to collect some alms that had been promised by a nobleman. But along the way, at the mouth of the Nile, because right, Sinai Peninsula right next to Egypt, it's part of modern Egypt. They didn't think of it as Egypt back then. Thought of it as it's either its own thing or part of Judea. But on the Nile, near Alexandria, some vicious pirates waylaid him. And despite the fact that the brigands wiped out the ship's crew, Simeon somehow managed to escape. And he landed in Antioch, where he received aid. I'm not sure the article isn't clear. I assume there must have been some sort of miraculous deliverance of him, because you don't get from Alexandria to Antioch very quickly. Especially if your ship has just been seized by pirates who have killed everybody else. After that, Simeon made a return trip to the Holy Land, which is not that far from Antioch. Then he made his way to Rome, and then he finally got to France. I don't know how long this took. This seems to have taken about 3 years. And the nobleman who had promised the alms, who knows how long before, he was dead. Simeon decided that this was about it, did not go back to the Holy Land, did not go back to St. Catherine's. In 1030, he settled as a hermit in Trier at the invitation of the archbishop there, and he enclosed himself in a tower where he lived a life of prayer and fasting until his natural death on June 1st, 1035. And so if you're a Roman Catholic who's looking for a saint to call upon, the next time your ship gets boarded by pirates, you can look upon St. Simeon of Syracuse, say, "Oh, St. Simeon, help us!" And hopefully the Lord will intervene on your behalf then. So, but of course, when we think pirates, we maybe think about these guys. Maybe we think about Vikings as well, right? Because if piracy is theft that is performed at sea, Vikings certainly got around in ships, and the main sort of idea of going Viking or being a Viking, as opposed to simply a person from early medieval Scandinavia, was the fact that you were going out to do some raiding, not trading. We lumped them all under the heading Viking, but as may be clear to some people by now, they have a wider purview. Scandinavians have a wider array of names of things that they do, and Viking is the guys who go raiding. So Vikings are technically pirates from early medieval Scandinavia, and before them are also the Saxons. So in fact, Sidonius Apollinaris in the 5th century refers to the pirates, the Saxons, going along the north shore of what is now France, what was then called Gallia, he refers to them as pirates. He even talks about their archipirata, which in English we might say pirate captain, which sounds way cooler than it really was. It's less exciting than you think, is one of the things I've learned trying to do research into ancient piracy. So, but anyway, what we want to say about Saxons and Vikings in relation to the church is the fact that eventually these people or their descendants do convert to Christianity. So all hope is not necessarily lost. Right, the Saxons are amongst the invading groups who actually end up not settling in northern France so much as they do in England with some other Germanic groups. They sort of assimilate the local Welsh population, except for those who hold out and eventually get destroyed, as told in I Gododdin by Aneirin. And eventually, though those people, originating as pirates and conquerors and settlers and assimilators, become Christians, starting with Augustine of Canterbury in 597. Vikings also, of course, eventually convert to Christianity, sort of mostly in the course of the 1000s. Iceland itself, in the year 1000, is sort of the first to take a step formally in that direction, although there were missionaries before that, and there are these stories in Einhard's, is it Einhard or Notker? I think it's Notker, actually. In Notker the Stammer's Life of Charlemagne, about these Danish Vikings who would come down and they would get baptized, but they would just sort of do it multiple times because they wanted to get all of the benefits that would accrue to them, the material benefits that came from their association with Charlemagne and his religion, not actually any religious conversion. So pirates, they do sometimes convert, but there are also, of course, pirates who are known for being people who've abandoned the faith, which makes a lot more sense, if you will. For example, my name is Captain Kidd, as I sailed, oh, my name is Captain Kidd, as I sailed. My name is Captain Kidd, and God's laws I did forbid, and most wickedly I did as I sailed. My father taught me well to shun the gates of hell, but against him I rebelled as I sailed. He shoved a Bible in my hand, but I left it in the sand, and I pulled away from land as I sailed. My name is Captain Kidd, as I sailed, oh, my name is Captain Kidd, as I sailed. My name is Captain Kidd, and God's laws I did forbid, and most wickedly I did as I sailed. So, Captain Kidd. Captain Kidd actually, I think, is an interesting guy because he's actually a privateer. How do you explain the story of Captain Kidd and what might it actually tell us about church history is slender. But I'll tell you first of all, Captain Kidd thinks he's a privateer almost the entire time. And he goes around into the Indian Ocean. He's a rounder. And while he's there, he accidentally kills one guy and murders another of his crew, of his officers, which is a bad thing. But then also, he not knowing, I guess the shifting dynamics of international politics, he actually launches an attack upon a Mughal trading ship, even though they are not legitimate targets for his activities, and so thus he becomes an actual pirate. But he claims that everything he did was, in fact, by the backing of a bunch of Whigs, so that it doesn't really matter what modern party might vaguely align with them, because modern politics are not 17th century politics. But it is likely that he actually did think he had a bunch of backers in London, but it doesn't really matter. As soon as you get caught for piracy, and it is clear you have committed deeds that look piratical to the authorities in the 17th century, they're out for your blood, and you're going to die a symbolic death, and all of them are going to deny any association with you, and they're going to say, no, we had nothing to do with poor Kidd. So poor Captain Kidd. I feel bad for Captain Kidd. And so should you. Anyone could have that sort of thing happen to them. So poor Captain Kidd, though, he has this reputation, though. There's like this famous image of him burying his family Bible before going out to sea, that he's sort of turning his back on his Christian upbringing, which is fascinating to imagine a 17th century man with a family Bible, because they're not actually that common back then yet. It's not Victorian, but that's a story being told in the 1700s. So we'll think on that. Think on that. So anyway, there's not actually a lot for me to tell, because I don't know a lot about early modern ecclesiastical history and its relationship with pirates, which is maybe where more of this story resides. I just thought I would highlight these few stories for you. And what all of the pirate songs, however, show us, whether it's the Last Saskatchewan Pirate, whether it's Shiver Me Timbers, whether it's Captain Kidd, or whether it's some of these other sailor songs are kind of salacious. Oh, ye landsmen and ye seamen, come listen to my song. It's of a trick was played on me, it won't delay you long. I came from sea the other day, a fair girl I did meet. She kindly asked me to a dance, was up on Peter Street. And on it goes. Basically, he has sex with a woman who steals from him. The main thing that I wanted to find was the converted pirates, right? Because they seem, most of the stories are pirates as villains, but what about pirates as the redeemed? If anyone's heart can be transformed, then one would hope that you can find such people. But in the brief time I had to put together this video, was unable to find the pirates who were redeemed. Of course, we have famous slave traders who get redeemed, and that's exciting. John Newton. But pirates, I know none. If you do, talk about them in the comments, and maybe I can tell some exciting stories about pirates who find Jesus and become disciples of Christ, as opposed to pirates who abandon Jesus, like Captain Kidd did, and become disciples of the sword. So that's all for today. It's less exciting than I had hoped it would be. I would like to conclude then with one last song. It is one of the great pirate songs of ecclesiastical history. We are the pirates who don't do anything. We just stay home and lie around. And if you ask us to do anything, we'll just tell you we don't do anything. Well, I've never been to Greenland, and I've never been to Denver, and I've never buried treasure in St. Louis or St. Paul, and I've never been to Moscow, and I've never been to Tampa, and I've never been to Boston in the fall. 'Cause we're the pirates who don't do anything. We just stay home and lie around. And if you ask us to do anything, we'll just tell you we don't do anything. And I never hoist the mainstay, and I never swab the poop deck, and I never veer to starboard, 'cause I never sail at all. And I've never walked the gangplank, and I've never owned a parrot, and I've never been to Boston in the fall. 'Cause we're the pirates who don't do anything. We just stay home and lie around. And if you ask us to do anything, we'll just tell you we don't do anything. Well, I've never plucked a rooster, and I'm not too good at ping pong, and I've never thrown my mashed potatoes up against the wall, and I've never kissed a chipmunk, and I've never gotten head lice, and I've never been to Boston in the fall. We are the pirates who don't do anything. We just stay home and lie around. And if you ask us to do anything, we'll just tell you we don't do anything.